You see, on the back of that, that's what makes the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show different to others, right? We go from an impression of Frank Spencer to a former Conservative cabinet minister, a legend. Sir John Redwood, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
John, I saw you watching intently on the monitor, Keir Starmer. Thoroughly inspiring speech about Greenland. He says this is a moment for the whole country to pull together. This is how you deal with America, by conversation with your allies. One thing that always struck me about you, I remember early doors when we were talking several years ago, and we were talking about how you make things happen and the blob, and you went, well, in my department I just told them what I wanted and got it done, and that was the way it was. He hasn't got the balls to stand up to Trump, has he, John?
Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, he's had one conversation, we learn. He's spent a lot of political capital on trying to be close to the president, and rightly so. He's wanted a good relationship with our leading ally and our main individual trading partner. But now is the time. He's got to show that all that legwork is going to pay off, and he's got to be in the room to persuade the president of a new course of action, because I think we're all agreed that it would be completely wrong for the United States of America to use its military might to go and occupy Greenland.
Is it posturing or is he serious, John, do you think, Trump?
Well, I think he would do a deal, which is why it's worth talking to him and why you've got to be best friend, but with a very clear line to him, expressing it in terms of his interests, not in terms of our interests. You've got to say to him, your own party and your own Congress is going to be very unhappy with this crude military threat against an ally and a country that's trying to help you in a modest way defend the West. And it won't actually help the West's defence if you split up NATO like this. And then you go on to say, but you probably have legitimate concerns. Can there be access to the West and to America to all those mineral deposits? Maybe Greenland's got to give a bit of ground on that and say, yes, we do understand we need defence against other threats. And to do that, you need to have these minerals under the control of friendly Western countries. We're very weak and vulnerable on all this. And yes, America probably wants some kind of commercial payback, because America is going to be funding the main bills to provide the contingent forces and the actual forces on the ground for the defence of Greenland. And I think that the main protagonists who've got to sit down are obviously the government of Greenland, the government of Denmark, and the government of the United States of America. And I think Greenland might need a couple of referendums if progress is made. There might need to be a referendum to allow them to vote to be independent of Denmark, because I think it's a general feeling in Greenland being a colony is a bit out of date and not entirely helpful. But that would have to be linked to a referendum on a new deal with America for the new Greenland government, because they're going to need some money and some commercial support if they go it alone. And then you might be able to put together a really exciting package for Greenlanders, because Greenlanders very clearly don't want to be taken over by America, but they do need America to be the lead on their defence.
I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but I listened to you for 3 minutes talk more sense, and I think if I put you in a room with Donald Trump right now, there'd be a deal. Every side would have a conversation. And I don't want to make this show just about Starmer, but it just doesn't inspire me to think that he has the intelligence to do those things. And I've said to you before, this whole approach, this sort of reactive approach to being political, which is, you know, I'll ask a focus group. I mean, the thing he was saying today, this is a moment for us all to pull together. You know, just play hardball, but talk to him, look him in the eyes. I just don't think he's got it. Can I ask you, as I haven't got much time, my friend, and we love having you on, you're a Tory. Yet another defection overnight. Andrew Rossendale, MP for Romford, told that he's on the right of the party, former Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, disgusted by Kemi and her team's response to Chagos. Robert Jenrick, who's with Julia in 15 minutes on Thursday, high-profile defection to reform. Are you next, Sir John Redwood?
No, I'm not. And I was sad to see Andrew go, because he's been a very stalwart campaigner for UK sovereignty. And I found it odd that he went over the Conservative response to Chagos, because the Chagos response has been extremely strong by the Conservative Party. Throughout, we have said that this is a foolish giveaway, and to add the extra problem of committing us to paying a load of money for the privilege of giving our islands away is mad, and to undermine this crucial base for Anglo-American forces throughout the Indian Ocean and the wider Pacific area is quite wrong. And what Andrew said was that he thought that the Lords should have voted it down on third reading. Well, what the Lords did was they put through a very strong motion condemning the whole policy and asking the government to think again. They don't normally vote a bill down on third reading, which has a majority in the House of Commons. But more importantly, I think the point Andrew missed was that there wasn't a majority in the Lords to vote the bill down on third reading. But by good whipping, there was a majority to send a very strong motion censoring the whole policy.
But I get that. Robert Jenrick, do you understand? I mean, the criticism for many inside reform is it's going to become the Tories 2.0. Other people are saying people like Jenrick have done it for personal ambition. Many others are saying, hold on a minute, the Tory party left us and moved left or centrist, and it doesn't represent what we now believe. It's full of wets. It's full of, you know, people who would gladly tie us back to the European Union, and reform is speaking our language. And if millions of people, voters, can move, don't politicians have the right? I want to know if you think the Conservative Party is weaker without Andrew Rossendale and, of course, Robert Jenrick.
Well, I just said that I think Andrew was a very good colleague and he believes in a lot of things I believe in, and I was rather surprised by his decision. In the case of Robert, again, I'm very disappointed because Robert had made the decision to work with the Conservative Party to right the wrongs or the mistakes of the previous government. And he was speaking for all of us when he said we needed a much tougher and more successful immigration policy. And it was successful collaboration. But now he's decided to go. There are two issues for me. One is, why isn't he putting the test of his change of loyalties and views to the electorate? Because he's now committing to a very different manifesto under reform on the economy and benefits and nationalisation and so forth, compared to the one he stood on and was following as a shadow cabinet member. And does he remember that he was actually one of the problems for those of us who wanted to get Britain out of the European Union, because he was a very strong Remainer?
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think that Robert Jenrick is a plus for the Reform Party, or do you think that it will unravel in your mind? And either way, I cannot disagree with you. And it isn't just Robert Jenrick. I'm not sure you can stand in a constituency on a manifesto and then swap, and then 3 years later you've been an independent. And I say that to anybody. I don't think it's right. I've never thought it was right.
No, I think it's wrong. I think if you feel your party is deviating from the manifesto, you can resign from the party and be an independent. But I don't think you can then flip to another party without asking the approval of your electors. But I think Robert's defection to reform was bad news for both parties.
More to come, do you think? More to come from the Tory side? Nigel, of course, set this deadline of May the 7th, didn't he? Do you think there'll be more to come?
Well, who knows? I mean, I hope not. And I hope that they will have further conversations with the new leadership of the Conservative Party, because they are very welcome to stay and influence the direction of travel if they have worries about the direction of travel. I don't think I believe the statement that no one will be accepted into the party after the May elections. I find that a rather fanciful proposition.
What about Labour? Farage saying there'll be a high-profile Labour defection this week. Any ideas?
No, I have no ideas. And they've said a defection, not an MP, so it may not be an MP. And obviously a defection of an MP is more significant, both because they're breaking their word to the electors and because it starts to change the arithmetic in the House of Commons.
Final word from you, Sir John. Kemi Badenoch, many people were saying over the weekend she dealt with it very well, came out of it showing real strength. I interviewed her a couple of weeks ago. Certainly she's more vocal, certainly she's finding traction. I've made the point before, I just wonder whether she's the right person at the wrong time and is going to suffer because the Tories do need, if you like, to be punished, it feels like, by the British people. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, I agree that the British public wanted to punish us, and they certainly did a very good job of that in the general election. And they've been doing a pretty good job of that in the opinion polls over the first year or so in opposition. It's up to the Conservatives, it's up to all of us to explain that we've learnt, that we're better, that we now have answers to the problem. But in many cases, the previous Conservative government wanted to do the right thing. They told
did,
us,
I know,
as with immigration, but they were incompetent or they weren't prepared to do the extra actions, particularly breaking the stranglehold of international law and some of the civil service. In order to do it, I think Kemi Badenoch has understood that, and she's going to spend the next 2 or 3 years working with a top team to make sure that when new Conservative ministers go in, if they are granted that privilege, they actually do mean what they say and know how to enforce it. It goes back to what you were saying about me. You need firm ministers who say please and thank you, but don't take no for an answer.
One of the greatest losses. Should have been Prime Minister. Love having you on, me old son. John Redwood, Sir John Redwood, former Conservative Cabinet Minister. Thank you very much.